I'm pretty sure.
All right, today we are going to do what's called chain rule. All right, now so far what we've done is the very first day we used the definition of derivatives function to be able to find the derivative. Second day we did what's called the power rule. That's what you guys just did on your quiz. The third time we talked about product and quotient. Now we're going to talk about what's called chain rule, and chain rule is always used when you have an expression raised to a power. All right, sometimes it will only be one expression, like what we see for both of these, but other times we'll have more than that. Okay, now to be able to do that, just like the definition says, we're going to have to build a chain here. All right, so how we're going to break that up is, and we're just going to use a different variable. Okay, the most common one is u. So we're just going to do a little bit of substitution here. We're going to say that our y equals u to the fifth. Our u is just taking the place of everything that's inside the parentheses there. So then we've got u equals negative x plus 2. Okay, now after that, this is something that if you looked at each one of those separately, you could take the derivative of both of those, right? And that's actually what our next step is. We're going to take the derivative of y, and you guys know that we get 5u to the fourth. And then we also have to take the derivative of u. What does that become? Negative 1. All right, so we've got two things left to do here. Once we find the derivative of each one of these parts, then we have to multiply these parts together. So our new y prime would be negative 5u to the fourth. But then our original equation had x's in it. We can't leave the u in it. So we know that u equals this. We're going to substitute that right back in here for u. So y prime is negative 5 times negative x plus 2 raised to the fourth power. All right, and that's the derivative of the whole thing there. Okay, now you have to build that chain because we have an expression raised to a power. Okay, and this is by far the easiest way to do it. Okay, what you could do is you could multiply this whole thing out, which nobody wants to do, and then take the derivative of that thing. You would get the exact same answer. It's just going to take you a whole lot longer to do it. Okay, so go ahead and try number 2, same concept. Caden got an answer for me already? Once you're done, I believe that's what you get. I skipped a couple of steps there. All right, you put the u in there for what's inside the parentheses, and then you take the derivative of both of those, multiply them together. Remember, all this stuff is multiplied together down here. So it doesn't really matter what order you put stuff in, just as long as this x squared plus 3 is raised to the third power. And that's the only thing that's raised to the third power. All right, any questions so far?
No.
Not too bad?
No.
All right, let's try it with the fractional exponent. Y equals negative 5x plus 2 raised to the 1/4 power. What do you think you do here? Yeah, the same thing. Y equals u to the 1/4. U equals negative 5x plus 2. Take the derivative of both of those. 1/4 u to the negative 3/4. And u prime is negative 5. Okay, from there, we just multiply those together. So we get negative 5/4. And then we can throw the u in there. Technically, that's all the further you would have to go. All right, if you wanted to get really specific, which I expect none of you to do, because I wouldn't even do this, you could break it up like this. Technically, that would be the exact same thing, all right, which you guys will see sometimes as an answer. Okay, so any questions there? All right, number 4, just because it's a negative exponent, do we do anything different?
No.
Okay, do it. Dallas, Caden, let's go, please. I'm still in football season, but are we almost done?
What do you mean? I haven't played football.
I thought you were going to play this week.
Yeah, I suppose. Good. It hurts today, though.
Hope you getting ready. I'm getting ready. That's why they've been heroin.
Nice.
And
And that will be on the video for the rest of the time that I teach this class. Perfect. Sounds like something I should probably send to Mr. Crane at some point. Oh. That's how we moved and everything. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no.
All right, now we're gonna ramp it up a little bit more here. Okay. Y equals the 4th root of x to the 5th plus 3. Okay, and then number 6 is a little bit more complicated after that.
all you do is you, y equals u to the 1.
That would be right. That's right, Eli. All right. Do you remember that that stuff underneath the square root sign is raised to the 1/4 power? All right. So then we just split that apart. Y equals u to the 1/4. And u equals x to the 5th plus 3. And then you take the derivatives of both of them.
I think I use like 4.
4.
Video. Look at this cube now.
Okay.
Now, look at this one. This is the U and this is the 4. Look at that.
All right. So there should be your answer for this one. All right. Just be careful with your parentheses that you have the right thing raised to the power that you want it to be. All right. Do we have any questions so far? Okay.
Please, sorry.
SD.
Where's that?
Sure.
Where's your car?
You already told me.
You're watching video.
Probably. Apparently, we're giving somebody a hard time today. Also, I know she's a good kid, but that's what McKenna wants. So, whatever the queen wants, right? All right. Number 6. Number 6, a little bit more complicated here, because what we have here is we have 2 sets of parentheses raised to 2 powers. All right. So we are going to have to do the chain rule twice.
No.
All right. So how this starts is we are going to start with the biggest set of parentheses first here. Stay in here. They should be on the bus already, or Carl needs to get his butt in here. And it was Carl. I just saw him. Okay. All right. So y equals. Now what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to replace this big set of parentheses. So we've got u to the 5th. Then what u is u is everything inside that. So x cubed plus 2 raised to the 3rd power minus 3. But inside u, we also have this expression raised to a power. So we're going to have to do another chain here. So u is going to equal, and I'm just going to put in another variable here, h cubed minus 3. And then h equals x cubed plus 2. All right. So then from there, now we're going to take the derivative of each one of those. So y prime is 5u to the 4th. U prime is 3h squared. And h prime is 3x squared. Okay. So from there, we just have to multiply these together. Okay. So normally what I do for these is I multiply all the numbers together. Okay. We've got 5 times 3 times 3 is 45. And then normally I put the x with it. So we've got 45x squared. And then I come back here and I deal with the u and the h. So this would be 45x squared times, if we look up at our original, our u is our bigger one here. So we've got x cubed plus 2, that all cubed, minus 3 raised to the 4th power. And then we have to deal with our h squared here, and our h is x cubed plus 2. And that would be as far as we have to go.
That's all.
That's it. You could multiply it all out if you wanted to.
I would like.
Okay, Matt just made the rule for the entire class that every single one of you has to multiply this out every time. Yes, Drew?
Could you just get a read for 5?
Could you do what?
Distribute the 5 at the beginning.
Distribute the 5. Where at, you're talking this 5?
Power at the very beginning of this.
In the last.
Oh, if you wanted to. You would have to FOIL all of this out though, or do the binomial theorem, which you guys love so much. So, all right. We are not done yet.
This last one.
No. You see how it says 6 pages up there? I know it's really small, but I think it says 4 out of 6 there, kid. All right, let's go. Copy it down. Even though they're negative exponents, we do the same thing as we did on the last page. So, u or y equals u to the negative 4. Okay, and what you guys will do as you go here, you'll go u equals h to the negative 3 plus 1, because our h is this second set of parentheses here. And then you'll go h equals 3x cubed plus 1.
And why did you do H then? Oh.
Got it? All right, so that's a little shortcut to save on the writing there. And then you just got to take the derivative of each one of those terms.
This is crap. I'm not even counting.
He's not even counting.
Not even counting.
All right, so there's our 3 derivatives. All right, then we have to multiply our numbers together. 12 times 9 is 108. X squared. Then we've got our u to the negative 5th. So that would be, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. And then we've got our h here. And h is 3x cubed plus 1 raised to the negative 4th power. The only thing that I didn't do is I didn't put h in yet. So 108 x squared. And what some of you guys will do is you go here, you'll put the h in as you write out this problem here.
For you, that H plus 1.
H to negative 3 plus 1. That's my u here.
Oh. Right, what, how many? This is.
All right. And that would be our final answer there.
Okay.
Okay. Now, remember, what's the whole point of taking the derivative? To find the rate of change, right? Rate of change, yes, we understand rate of change on a graph means the slope, all right? And what this does is this finds our rate of change at a certain value, okay? So, Drew, for your stuff that you've been making, could say you had an equation to build that thing. All right. Could you find the rate of change at a certain point along that entire 3-hour process? Yeah, that's what this does. Okay. Now you got to build an equation for the original thing, which I don't know what that is, but you could do that.
That's what the slicing program is for, Doc.
Oh, well, yeah, and we're going to get there. So, all right. Now let's take it up a step. We are going to combine chain rule with product rule.
Now it's sauce. Now it's
Okay, so copy it down. We can do it Saturday afternoon if you'd rather.
okay. I'm gonna be busy.
Doing math, okay.
Doing nothing right
I'm
now.
the sauce.
It's okay. The other Heinrich is back in school today, right?
Oh,
No. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign.
We're
because they don't want to fail.
They want a lot of them.
All right. Now, when we are doing multiple things like this one, I like to write it out first before I take any derivatives here. So product rule, we know our first one's an A, the second one's B. So then remember, product rule is A prime B plus A B prime. All right. So what I'm going to do here is before I take the derivative of any of this, I am going to say, I'm going to write all this out and say, all right, I have to take the derivative of this first one. And then I'm going to multiply it by the second one. And then write down the first one, put it away. And then I take the derivative of the second one here.
How do you go so long?
All right, so if we follow this, all we have to do at this point is take the derivative of this first one and the derivative of the last one. Okay, so taking the derivative of this first one, we have got, now this is going to be a chain rule, right? Because we've got an expression raised to a power. So this is going to be u cubed, and then u equals 3x to the fourth plus 2. We have to take the derivatives of both of those. So 3u squared, u prime is 12x cubed. The derivative of that first set then is 36x cubed times u squared. Well, u squared was this 3x to the fourth plus 2. So this that we just found, 36x cubed times this expression, that goes in for our derivative part of the first one. All right, so then we got to find the derivative of the last one is what this says. So once again, we've got y equals u squared, u equals 5x squared plus 4.
Why do you square?
Because we're putting a u in for this last one. Y prime is 2u. U is 10x. So the derivative of this, I'm going to write it off to the side, is 20x times 5x squared plus 4. And then all we're going to do with this 20x thing is we're going to plug it right in here. So this first one that we found is going to go in for this. Then we're going to take that times what we have written after it. Plus 3x to the fourth plus 2 cubed. And then we have to take the derivative of the last one, which we already found was 20x times 5x squared plus 4. Okay, not the prettiest thing to look at the end, but that is our derivative of our original here. All right, Lots of steps to this, but to be honest, it's just staying organized. So even though we're doing product rule and chain rule, I think it's something that you can handle. All right, questions at all there? All right, one more.
What?
People, I'm supposed to teach for an hour and a half. I've barely been teaching for 20 minutes.
You can use it.
Write it down. Last one.
That's what it's on the critical rate. Honestly, we have such wash
Mr. Crane just needs this entire video today, huh? You should probably find this out before you go play on Saturday. Oh, he was there again? Yeah, I wasn't there. Interesting. Where was it at? Eli's house?
No, it was on the street.
Oh, it was out in the middle? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It was on the road.
On the roadway. All right. For this one we have quotient rule and chain rule again, right? Okay, so for this one, our A is our top, our B is our bottom. Remember the equation to find this. A prime B minus A B prime over B squared. Okay, so, and you'll find shortcuts for this as you work through this, but I'm going to write it all out first of all. So y equals, we're going to take the derivative of the top times the bottom minus the top times derivative of the bottom. And that is all over the bottom squared. Okay, do you guys understand where all that's?
Why haven't you done your?
Because I just wrote it down so we know what we have to take the derivatives of. I'm sorry. Like I said, you guys can find shortcuts as you go here. All right, so we got to find the derivative of the first one. So y equals 2x to the 5th minus 1 cubed. We got to take the derivative of that. So I shouldn't have wrote that down. That's going to be a u cubed. U is 2x to the 5th minus 1. Then we got to find the derivatives of both of those. 3u squared. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Probably because it's a variable that doesn't get used very often. And honestly, for the h part that we did on a couple problems ago, I think the first class that I did this with just picked an h. I don't think there's a reason for it. All right, so we multiply these together. Y prime 30 x to the 4th times 2x to the 5th minus 1, that whole thing squared. All right, any questions with that one? Then we've got to find the derivative of the last one there. So y equals u squared. U equals negative 3x to the 4th plus 5. Y prime is 2u. u prime is negative 12 x cubed. Multiply those together, we get negative 24 x cubed times negative 3x to the fourth plus 5. All right, and then we just plug those in and then we're good. All right, so y prime equals this first one. Squared times the bottom one. Minus the top one. Esty, thanks for writing it down. You got the whole thing there? All over the bottom squared.
Wait, so do you add those two or do you multiply?
Power raised to a power you multiply. All right, do you guys see any questions up here? The one thing that I would tell you to be careful of is this negative 24x cubed here. I put it in parentheses because if you don't put parentheses in there, it can very easily look like it's this term minus 24x cubed. Okay, so just be careful with that. Okay, most of the time when I'm doing this, most of the time I pull the number and the x out to the front, but sometimes I forget. All right, just like I did right here. So if that's the case, just put it in parentheses. Just be very careful with those parentheses. Down on the bottom, you could either leave it like what we had up above, or power raised to a power, we just multiply those to get this down to a 4. Okay, don't have to simplify anything more than that. So as messy as that looks, that is the correct answer there. All right, so do you guys have any questions for me on this? If you can understand this, you've got a chain rule down. Anything at all? Elliot? I'll ask it